All right. Excuse me. Dave Schultz with the Schultz cast. I ran a little bit late. Somehow the morning got away from me. I was working out pretty good. Oh, here's the super genius move of the day. Unbelievable. So I get up early on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to get the lift in before the show. And then I either don't go to Orange Theory as a day off or I go at noon. Well, I got up really early on Friday before going to College Station to do Orange Theory and leave by 8, which I basically did. Forgot to reset the alarm. I got up, instead of getting up at 4:45, I got up at 4. Went to go take the pre-workout mix. It's 4:04. I'm going back to bed, which I did. Surprisingly, I was able to go fall back asleep, but already a good move. Also, I got a UPS delivery coming today, which I need to be here to sign for. What are the chances that comes during the Orange Theory class? You know it is, right? Like, you got to, it's going to be delivered between 10 and 2:30. You know it's going to be delivered between 12 and 1. Or between 11:15 and 1 o'clock. Right? I think the class, let me see the class. Orange Theory is at, I think it's at noon, not 12:15. Let me see. It's exactly at noon. So I got to leave here a little bit before 11:45. You know it's going to be, and I'll get back here at 1:15. You know that's when it's going to be delivered. You can count on that, right? What can you do? I'll get it tomorrow. It is not of pressing need. It is interesting, but not of I need it today. All right, so we've already moved on from college baseball. Great softball game yesterday. OU and Florida. I kind of tuned into that. Florida had their shots. They absolutely did. But boy, if you don't kill the beast, that's why it's so hard. And how good is Florida, right? They just, came out storming. They got run ruled, and then they came storming back. And then they ended Oklahoma's 20-game postseason winning streak or NCAA tournament winning streak, and they had them. They were up 5-2 and could not add to it. Also, I have way too much to drink. Protein, coffee. Could I have any more to drink? Is that the Seinfeld method? Also, I don't know why it drips out. It drips all the time. It drips. I don't know why. I'm not missing my mouth with this one. I miss my mouth a lot, but I don't know why it drips. One thing I forgot yesterday was how much Tommy White was getting praised. That was just lucky, right? Really lucky. Does he get a good heads up for, not picking the ball up? Sure. But I mean, he saw it was going to go foul. He got really lucky. It didn't hit a rock in the foul line, or what the judge would call it, the fair line. And he got very lucky that it didn't hit the base. It didn't hit the base. Very lucky, because it wasn't a heads up play. That was the only play he had, was to let it go, because everybody was going to be safe. I'm not getting the runner at first, and the runner from third is going to be safe. So my only play is to let it go. So good job by him, I guess, but incredibly lucky that it wasn't runners on. Could have been runners on at second and third, because if that hits the base and rolls away, I don't know if the runner from third's coming home. Probably not, but the runner from first could go to second. Maybe. I mean, a heads-up play to let it go, but I thought that was more luck than heads up, to be honest with you. We already had a, let me see here, LSU LSU player in the portal, right? Was it Buckham? LSU baseball. A reliever. I mean, that didn't take long at all. I don't know what even the openings are for baseball. Let's see here. Yeah, Micah Bucknam announced Tuesday entering the transfer portal after 2 years. Wow. Okay. I mean, I guess they would have there already there. So this was yesterday, and they lost on Monday. I mean, he must have had his exit interview by then. I did see Moscona talk about Jay Johnson after they lost to the Southern Miss Regional a couple years ago. He was already with Paul Skeens the day that Skeens entered the portal. So maybe this is fast. Maybe it happened on Tuesday night or Monday night, Tuesday morning. That's fast, right? But you got to, these guys scatter really quickly. There's no school. It's not like basketball or football. Football would be they'd scatter because it's the holidays and school's out. But, so some guys are getting ready for the draft. Obviously, some guys are staying in town, but a lot of these guys are playing summer ball. Lake Charles, I guess had their summer ball team open up to a pretty big crowd. And we'll see what Cajuns and Tigers are going to play here. Did watch Clipped. And let me see if I got this right, because I thought I could be off. Let me see here. NBA champions. I thought their first one was like 15. When was this Golden State's first NBA champions? Was it 14? Because I just remember being in there with Chet, and they didn't take the next step. Because 13, 14 would have been my first year here. And I don't remember them taking the next step even in 15. Let me see if when was their first so Golden State was 15. So Golden State was 15. So they okay. So quickly, Clipped is the Donald Sterling story with Ed O'Neill. And, the first playoff series that the Clippers are playing are against the Warriors. And this is when the Donald Sterling tape got out, and that's where we are. All right. It is, can watch it on FX and Hulu. I think it's pretty good. First thing we find out, the first thing we find out in our entire show is that Blake Griffin and Chris Paul just didn't like each other at all from the get-go. I mean, from the get-go. Remember, this is Ramona Shelburne. So this isn't some Hollywood fantasy. This is an ESPN writer and reporter who put this together. And she did a whole big expose on this a few years ago. And that's what's made it. That's what the movie is based on. She's in it. Bill Plaschke had a line in it. So far, so good. But all the episodes aren't dropping at the same time. They are. The first 2 episodes dropped yesterday, and now they're coming out at a weekly basis. So I'm sure it's timed with the NBA Finals. That's exactly what they wanted it to be. Did know some of the actors and actresses are pretty good. Kelly O'Cone is like the president of the Clippers, and Donald Sterling's right-hand man, Andy Rosner. He does a really good job. Lawrence Fishburne is Doc. And obviously it's tough to find guys that are, 6'10", right? Doc runs into Elgin Baylor at the grocery store, and right, Doc is like 6'3", 6'4", and isn't Elgin Baylor like 6'8"? Blake Griffin's like 6'2" in the thing. So I think it's good. Obviously, it's some stuff for dramedy, but I thought it was pretty good. All right, so yesterday, as we move on from the baseball, and we'll keep an eye on LSU and the Cajuns. We'll see who, again, I'm keeping my eye on Chase Morgan. That's the one I'm keeping my eye on. And Andrew Herman, for that fact of the matter. Has anybody picked those guys up moving forward? All right. I did drop a Locked On Sun Belt yesterday because Gary Gilmore is sick of the chaos, won't miss the chaos. And he's right. And I didn't realize the story. Rick Cleveland of Mississippi Today put it out there. Do I have it here? There was a pitcher from Southern Miss who transferred to Florida, right before the season or something along those lines, right before, right at the end of the portal. And that guy helped Florida to get to the, best of 3 against LSU. Southern Miss just misses getting to Omaha. Well, that's a killer, right? That's just not great. But the chaos by the players, you want chaos from the players. Well, the coaches do the chaos too. And I maybe I'll sit and do the research. How many dominoes fell because Nick Saban retired, right? Pretty sure, there are like 5 head coaching jobs that opened up because of that. Washington, South Alabama, right? I mean, was it Buffalo? They got all kinds of jobs from that one. Talk about chaos, right? And Kane Womack, for example. And the problem with this one, if it's a problem, right? They these guys were doing it in mid-January, right? So that I don't know what the dates are of the semifinals, but like New Year's Eve or something like that to January 10th, because Nick didn't want to do it during the championship or before the championship, so he did a couple of days later. So all these kids who did the early signing day in December, right, and are looking to sign in a few weeks, now don't have coaches. That's chaos. All right. That's chaos. And Kane Womack doubled his salary. Went from as if $800,000 wasn't enough, he went to like 1.6. So now these kids who are getting zero, I had somebody tell me, as an A&M volleyball player, putting together a bunch of different smaller packages. I'm like, what's small? Is she making 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand? I don't know what small is. Like 10 grand is a lot. 5 grand is a lot. And so some of these kids are getting, not generational money, but, changing, the family structure. No one's going hungry. We can keep the lights on. A former, just a little, how much money this is. Former New Orleans news anchor found a 90-year-old military veteran pushing carts at the grocery store. And she, in 24 hours, she raised a couple $100,000. Now, he's going to keep on working because if he doesn't stop working, if he stops working, he thinks he's going to die, right? But now he doesn't have to worry about his bills. He's like, I get Social Security, $1,100, and I work at, I guess, Rouse's, I thought it was, to make up the difference. Well, now he says he's even going to give away a quarter of what they raised. But if he says he needs $2,500 to live, well, he raised like $250,000. He's 90, so that's going to last him. Even if you $200,000, that's going to last a long time. And if you put it away, not that he needs it for a rainy day, but it can get 10, 15% a year. Keeps on going up. So anyway, it's not only the players who create the chaos is the point, as far as I'm concerned. Gary Gilmore also brought up a good point. And I think it will get fixed moving forward. And this is on the NCAA because I always thought they were going to win. It's free agency every year. And he's not wrong about that. It is free agency every year. He's like, can you imagine that in baseball? And the Yankees, Red Sox, and the Dodgers would get everything. Well, not anymore because the Yankees and the Red Sox are fiscally responsible. The Dodgers might. But who doesn't want free agency every year? They don't like that. The players. All right. Because now that's different than college sports because what is it? 130 college football teams, like 350 college basketball teams and baseball teams. So there's a little bit more demand in that than in baseball because if I only have 3 or 4 left-handers that are available, those guys are all going to get basically top dollar. Even the bottom guy is like, all right, I didn't get as much as those guys did, but I did pretty well. If they're free agents, if everybody's a free agent, and I got 150 left-handers. All right, maybe the 2 or 3 guys who are really good get the most money, and then everybody else is the same. They don't want that. All right, they want supply to be short to keep demand up, and eventually that'll get worked out with colleges to where the supply is short and not what the demand is, not what the supply is now. All right, I do think there will be some sort of contractual obligation that they're there for a minimum of 3 years. It could be like what baseball was. We always kind of thought that would be the case. And basketball should be that way. Like, if you want to go to college, you can, but you got to be there for 3 years. You don't have to go to college, although now you do, right? We still have that. You got to go to college for 1 year in basketball. In baseball, like Dylan Cruz, you got to go for 3 years, and then you can leave. And there's ways around that, right? If you want to go to junior college, you can get drafted after your freshman or sophomore year. You can get drafted quickly. But nonetheless, I think that will get, I happen to think that's going to get worked out. But remember, this is all in real time. This is, right, like Major League Baseball. And here's the other thing, right? Remember when Major League Baseball did this? Was Andy Messersmith? We're talking 1973, and Curt Flood, losing his court case, and that opened up the gates for free agency. Remember how they were going to tell you how free agency in baseball was going to ruin the game? Now, if you look at the standings right now, there's like 5 good teams in the American League and maybe 3 or 4 good teams in the National League, but that may have more to do with the Braves were all beat up in injuries more than anything else. They're already talking about Juan Soto not coming back to the Yankees. But baseball, despite Rob Manfred's efforts, in certain respects, has never been more popular. NFL has never been more popular. We're kicking off the NBA. They're getting huge ratings. We've always been sold a bill of goods that when there's major change coming, it's bad because the people who have the money have to give up more money. Now, somehow the NFL has figured out a way of not doing that. The NFL has mostly beaten the players' union. Players' union in football doesn't get nearly as much as the others have in terms of splitting the costs and splitting the revenue. But the NFL is doing so good, they're going to add 15% more games. Also, don't tell me you care about player safety when you do that. You can't do that. No. But we've always been sold a bill of goods. Free agency is going to ruin sports, and it absolutely hasn't. Not at all. We get complaining about, used to be this way, blah, 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 blah. Seems to be working. There's a lot of people making a ton of money in sports. All right. I did want to talk about this. David Hale from ESPN did. No, I got to see if I can find it. Let's do him. He ranked, and I probably should have done a better job of this, all of the quarterbacks. But instead of putting it in a chart, he kind of gave them levels. All right. In the first level, cream of a questionable crop, 9 players, tier 1. Okay. So he's got a couple of quarterbacks that haven't really played. Is Ty Simpson in that mark? Ty Simpson? Didn't we see him last year? And they went back to Jalen Milroe. Really? We haven't seen Jaden Rashad at all. And he's listed on here. You got Texas's Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. That's interesting. All right. And you got 3 Georgia quarterbacks. Gunnar Stockton is there. All right. Interesting. It's tier 1 with an asterisk, 6 players. Shedeur Sanders is there. Utah's Cam Rising. Miami's Cam Ward. That's a tier 2. Let's see where tier 3 is. We still haven't seen LSU. Jackson Dart is Tier 3. And you got Walker Howard also there, right? STM's own Walker Howard. Ohio State's Will Howard is there. Some of these things are interesting. There's another Cade Cunningham. He's a quarterback at Memphis. They got 2 guys there. Interesting. Still no LSU quarterback. Still working our way down. I don't know how to say the Tennessee's guy's name. Nico Leva. So we'll have to figure that one out. But he's tier 4. Dylan Raiola, right? He was a huge recruit. Where did he start out at? Did he go to Georgia? Where did he? Now I got to look at the timeline. Where am I going to find that out? He started somewhere else. And then ended up at Nebraska. Let me see here. He's a 5-star. The number 1. Yeah, let me see. Where did he start out? I don't even know if that's how you say his name. But Wikipedia. All right. Let's see here. Oh, he committed to play to Ohio State, but in December decided to reopen his recruitment in 2023, announced the top 4 schools where Georgia read it, and ultimately committed to Georgia on May 15th. On December 18th, 2023, flipped his commitment from Georgia to Nebraska. All right. We'll see. Okay. So, we'll see if he's that good. Still no LSU. Let's see where we are here. All right. That was tier 3. Tier 4, the young and the restless. That was that one. Okay. Tier 5A, the transfer market endgame. Graham Mertz is number 4. Is on tier 5. Graham Mertz. All right. Interesting. The transfer market origins. My guy, Kyle McCord, is there. Riley Leonard is on that. NC State's Grayson McCall. DJU, Florida State. All right. Still do not see an LSU quarterback on this list. Did I miss him? One guy we're not sure of is Cade Klubnik for Clemson. He did beat Duke and Riley Leonard last year. Did beat my Orange as well a couple years ago. There's Nussmeier. Tier 8, shoes to fill. So maybe this is a different list than I really think. Although, ironically, not coincidentally, North Carolina's Max Johnson is on the same list as Garrett Nussmeier. Also on that list, Kentucky's Brock Vandergriff, who was, again, a Georgia quarterback at one point, right? Correct. All right. We also I haven't run into any Sun Belt quarterbacks yet. So there's like 20 tiers of this. Well, wouldn't you know it? First one, App State's Joey Aguilar. Now, I happen to think App is the favorite in the East. This is what he lists here. No QB in the country threw more touchdown passes to tie or give his team a lead than App State's Aguilar. And we talked with, Sean Clark about that. And obviously you have to have a guy ready. But it's got to be so much less stressful. So the stress is finding the backup, a just-in-case guy, compared to, well, who's going to be the guy? And remember, Aguilar wasn't the guy coming out of camp. The guy coming out of camp hurt his thumb, hurt his finger. I'm not even sure he was ready in 2 months, but Aguilar's first pass, 40-yard touchdown pass. They were good. So we'll see with Aguilar. You also have interesting tier of 9. You got you got Jordan McLeod on there, Texas State, going from JMU, and Western Kentucky's TJ Finley. Let's see what else they have here on any of these others. Four quarterbacks threw for 35 touchdowns and 3,500 yards last year. Daniels, Penix, Nix, and McLeod. Daniels, Penix, and McLeod led the nation with 8 games in which they threw for at least 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. McLeod was the only one to do it in 13 games or less. Interesting. All right, let's see where else. So that was 2 Sun Belt quarterbacks. On tier 9, no one on tier 10. Tier 11, you got no. All right, no Sun Belt quarterbacks there. Tier 11B, you got James Madison, Dylan Morris. I probably need to lead a little about that. Wasn't it Alonzo Barnett? I thought he was the one who had the job opening. So Dylan Morris came from Washington. So he's Penix's backup. He played in 2021 before Penix got there, I guess. And he threw for 2,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Is not great. So we'll see what Dylan Morris can do. And let me see. The Barnett name sounds familiar. Let me see here. Alonzo Barnett III. Yeah, so he was the kid who yeah, he struggled. He got the start against Bucknell and was 3 for 11. Like, he had stage fright. Yeah. So hopefully he's better. Hopefully, again, you absolutely have to go into the year with 2 quarterbacks, if not 3, right? We had Mike Desmo on, and I know people will say it's excuses versus reasons, but when Hud was here, the offensive line was never hurt. And when Napier was here, in 3 of his 4 years, his quarterback didn't miss a start. Cajuns can't keep a quarterback healthy. Last year, they started 3 different quarterbacks. And the year before, 3 quarterbacks played. Significant time. All right, so James Madison is on 11B. 12, tier 12. Nobody there for Sun Belt. Here would be the problem if I am Auburn. Peyton Thorne is 13. Walker White is there. He's the freshman. Holden Gurnier, he's been there. But boy, I will. Who is on this tier 13 is Zeon Chris. Zeon Chris is on that list. We'll see. All right, he's going up against Donovan Smith. So we'll see how that goes. Arkansas State's Jalen Rayner is on tier 15. See, I think that's low because they're not the favorite, but you would think that Arkansas State is right behind Texas State. Texas State is the favorite because of G.J. Kinney and Jordan McLeod, right? You get the offensive player of the year. If you can just get that defense a little tighter and finish off some games, which they weren't able to do last year, you got a shot at going 10-2 and maybe better this year. Arkansas State, they started a freshman last year, so you think his big jump is going to be huge from year 1 to year 2. But all of that, also, you got all of that recruiting from Butch Jones, who is now in year 4, and he had huge recruiting classes in year 1 and 2. So no, those guys, if they're still there, are now sophomores and juniors and ready to go. All right. Interestingly enough, you got Gio Lopez. He struggled in the spring game. Okay. I don't know if that was like he had some issues in the spring game, like completing a pass type of deal. Got a lot of talent, but we'll see if that can come through. Also on that list, as it turns out, is FAU's Cam Fancher. Maybe getting out of Huntington will be a good thing. We'll see. So that's tier 15. Arkansas, I would put Jalen Rayner higher, I would think, but we'll see. Let's see what we got. Tier 16. No one there, Sun Belt wise. 17 known commodities. We got Ben Woldridge and Chandler Fields at tier 17. All right. You got Marshall's Cole Pennington, Mitch's Griffiths, and Braylon Braxton. Although people in Huntington don't think it's going to be Cole Pennington. You also have Old Dominion's Grant Wilson, and we've had, Ricky Ronnie on the show, the Lockdown Sunbelt, and he thinks that you take a huge jump in year 1 to 2 in that offense. So we'll see, because there's more trust with whatever wide receivers they have. Let's see here. What you need to know. Woldridge missed the final 3 games of the 2022 season and all but 1 pass in the final 11 games of 2023. When he has been on the field, he has been excellent, throwing for 20 touchdowns and just 6 picks. All right. Wilson was off target with 20% of his throws last season, 124th out of 125. That needs to be better. Wow. Okay. Pennington finished last season with 6 interceptions and 0 touchdown passes. No FBS QB had more INTs without a touchdown since Timmy Boyle had 8 in 2013. The good news for Pennington is that Boyle went on to a fine career, actually started 5 games in the NFL, although he was 5-0 in those starts. Interesting note there. Tier 18 is Coastal Carolina's Ethan Vasco and Noah Kim. Georgia Southern's J.C. French and Dexter Williams. Like, that job is wide open. Georgia State, like, I don't know any of these guys. Christian Vilu and Kyle Lowe. Let's see. I mean, where's he? Okay. So Christian's been there. Oh, no, he went to Pitt. He's from Pitt. So he's a transfer from Pitt. He's from Ontario, from Ottawa, Ontario. Did beat Louisville last year. Was that last year? Yeah. Did struggle in the other ball games that he played for Pitt. 7 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's a little rough. That is rough. Let's see what else we got here. So I need to do a better job of listing these. Oh, man. Let me see here. You know who's on this list that a name popped up? Chandler Rogers. Is he on like 4 different teams? Did he start out at USM? Went to ULM, then North Texas because he wanted to be closer to home. And where is he now? Hold on a second. Hold on. Did I see he's like in Cal? Because you see these names that you think are familiar, and they are, but you don't know from where. And hold on. Oh, Southern Miss, and they're at 18. Like Tate Rodemaker that's tier 18. If Southern Miss is going to be any better, they got to be going to be, Will Hall going to keep his job. He's got to be better than that. Where was Chandler Rogers? Was that 20? UL Monroe's Hunter Herring, right from here in Lafayette. He is tier 20, and that's as far as they could go. All right. Hey, we could be wrong. That's the tier. So it is on ESPN.com. some of these I don't. Where did that one go? Where did Chandler Rogers go? I just saw his name and now I've lost it. Sometimes when you click on it, it changes the color, but I don't see it. 20? No, I don't see it. All right, so we'll see. Boy, the also as we wrap things up here, boy, that Caton Clark thing is still rocking and rolling, right? I mean, it will not end, right? Wilbon and Kornheiser dipped into it, and Wilbon said, "Yeah, here, it's about race. We need to have a little conversation." Clay Travis, dipped his toe in the water, and it doesn't dip anything in the water, right? And he said, not only is it racial, but it's sexual. I mean, it is. There's a lot of people talking about stuff that they don't know about, and I'm the first one to admit I haven't followed the WNBA at all, not at all. You want to hear my WNBA story? And people may not know who this guy is. It doesn't matter. Being a minor league baseball broadcaster, this was my story. Matt Devlin, if anybody knows who he was the voice of Memphis, I believe, for a while. And then I still think he may be the voice of the Raptors. I met him. He was doing baseball, Palm Springs Angels back in the day, 1993. Good guy. Ends up getting the New Haven Ravens job. Replaced a friend of mine, Dave Brady. And it was late 90s, early 2000s. He gets a job with the New York Liberty. And I just remember, really, he took a women's fledgling league over, he's so close to the big leagues, right? You're sitting right there in between Yankees and Red Sox. Well, he saw the bigger picture because the checks are being signed by the NBA. So it doesn't matter who your audience is, who may or may not be watching or listening, because the owners are. And so he didn't last very long with Liberty, and he ended up in Memphis. Let me see that's my WNBA story. That's all I remember. And he's been a big league broadcaster for a long time. Matt Devlin. All right. He's actually, like a Canadian resident now. Sportscaster, Matt Devlin. He's had a great career. Okay. I didn't even realize that he was born in Syracuse, New York. All right. I got to find out where he went to high school. I don't know if that was the case. Okay. He became a citizen during the Raptors run. Let's see when it was when he got hired here. Devlin started with the NBA TV during his first season, 1999. He spent 3 seasons as the lead voice of the NBA's Memphis Grizzlies. But he was doing NBA. He was doing WNBA. I guarantee you it doesn't say that here. All right. It does not say it here. No, but he absolutely worked. I'm pretty sure he worked for the Liberty. Does not say it here. Let me see if we got it in his bio. That's let's see if we got it in Raptors. But that's my only WNBA story. Is there not a Matt Devlin bio? All right, let's see here. This is NBA.com. So this was a Raptors press release. Matt Devlin joins the Raptors for his first season as the club's television play-by-play voice. He actually, his partner for a long time, former Sixer, was Leo Rautins, former Syracuse player. Leo moved around the corner from where I lived. I think I've had Leo on my show a couple of times. But Leo Rout and my friend and I, my next door neighbor, if you will, she actually lived behind me. One of our moms made cookies. We delivered cookies to Leo Rautins as he was moving in, and that was a big deal when we were kids. Let me see here. Devlin was the first television announcer in Bobcats history. He called NBA action for the Charlotte Bobcats and Memphis Grizzlies. Prior to joining the Grizzlies, Devlin called play-by-play action for the New York Liberty of the WNBA for the MSG Network. That was it. Did pre- and post-game for select network broadcasts of Knicks and Yankees baseball. And he's had, a 2-decade career in a 2-decade career. So, yeah. When I tell you, I'll guarantee I've watched more WNBA this year because of Caitlin Clark than I have in the past 25 years. I haven't watched almost any WNBA. I was trying to watch the WNBA on Saturday in College Station, and they changed the game right at the end, right? This may have been the hip check, the shoulder check game where the Fever almost blew it, right? And they're like, why are they changing the channel with a minute and a half to go? Well, they put it on college baseball, and the game was 5-5. I don't remember what game they put it on, but, I'm watching, so I'm certainly not in charge of the channels, and I wasn't going to complain too loudly. I was like, the game was almost over. You could have waited the extra 5 minutes to change the channel. Oh, well. But it just keeps on going. People are like, we weren't talking about Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark, until Angel Reese beat Caitlin Clark. And I'm like, well, maybe you weren't. I wasn't, but other people were. Caitlin Clark didn't come out of nowhere. She's not an overnight sensation, right? Just because I wasn't paying attention to her doesn't mean other people weren't paying attention to her. All right. That's, so it has become but again, just like the chaos in the NCAA, it's going to calm down, right? Like Pat McAfee was out of line. What he said, apologized for it. And I just think Pat is one of the more sincere guys out there. Also, sometimes he tells you too much, right? And ended up with an ESPN executive basically getting fired. But he sent his apologies to her and said, all good. And she said, all good. And there is difference. People are out there are like, you talking about it and you covering it are two different things, right? You sitting courtside watching the games compared to going to the shoot-arounds and the post-game practice and the post-game press conferences and doing the Zoom calls, you're not really covering it. You're talking about it. No, those are two different things. And again, it went off the deep end to where, and Stephen A. and Monica McNutt are going at it. And he's like, who talks more about the WNBA than me? Well, you weren't talking about the WNBA until this year either, Stephen A. You weren't doing it 2-3 years ago. You could have been. And even Monica was like, you're my guy, Stephen A., but don't say you were talking about women's sports back in the day. So then Stephen A. takes it to the next level. Who made Monica McNutt? Who made, Carter? Who made all these women who appear on his show? Come on. He, basically he wants credit for helping launch their careers. Andrea Carter. I'm like, well, maybe get some of the credit. But here's the thing. They ain't going on that show unless they bring something to the table to begin with, right? Most of the time. Matt Devlin ain't getting the Bobcats or the Grizzlies gig unless he's got Liberty experience. Like, he's not going from the New Haven Ravens excuse me, New Haven Ravens to the NBA. Just not going to happen. All right. There's been some people who've made a big jump recently, but that's not a thing. That's not generally a thing. So these women had to have talent before Stephen A. found them. All right. Make sure you understand that. I don't see Mike Greenberg saying, "Hey, I put these women on, Get Up, and I want credit for that." No. All right. Yeah, I'm not buying that. So that's how crazy this has become. It's going off the deep end. Although it does give people a bunch of things to talk about these days when maybe it is a little bit of a slow time. I mean, we did have, I don't even know who this guy is. And let's see where it is listed. All right. We had basically a couple things came out yesterday. We had a player banned. Let's see if it's even on the front of ESPN.com. It is not anymore. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories. All right. On ESPN.com. The baseball player for the Padres or the Pirates who's been banned from baseball, not on there here. Angel Reese got ejected. Djokovic going to have knee surgery. LeBron mad about no longer playing with Kyrie. McCaffrey gets a contract extension. Napoli hires Conte after disastrous title defense. All right. I don't even know what that is. Sounds like soccer, I guess. UConn extends Gino Auriemma, 5-year deal. I mean, I thought he was close to, retiring. So nothing there. So let's see MLB baseball. All right. You do get a couple. All right. So Ohtani's guy pleads guilty. MLB calls the case closed. All right. They're saving Ohtani and themselves. Marcano gets a lifetime ban. To keep up Marcano. I mean, I don't know who that guy is. He placed hundreds of bets involving the Pirates when he was with the team last season. Placed 387 baseball bets totaling more than 150 grand in October of 22. All right. With a legal sports book. He became the first active player in a century to be banned for life for gambling. Okay. We know who the other one was. So that, no one's really talking about that. Garrett Cole did a rehab where I used to work, Somerset Patriots. That looked like fun. And there was another story yesterday that sort of got, another thing. I don't know. And we got when's the NHL finals start, right? We got NBA finals are tomorrow. We're waiting until Saturday to start the NHL finals. Goodness gracious. And those things will probably not be on the same day. They don't want to compete against each other. So there's not a whole, I mean, this is the top story. Again, the top stories. Angel Reese was ejected in a loss to the Liberty. All right. Djokovic, knee surgery. LeBron is mad about no longer. Is that a real story? McCaffrey gets a contract extension. Gino Auriemma gets a contract extension. So when there's not a whole lot of news going on. We got to wait for the Super Regionals this weekend, and the Women's College World Series is going on. Is that 2 out of 3? Right? Do they play 2 out of 3 as well? I don't. Let me see. Texas and Oklahoma, the future of college softball. So this is not the easiest thing to find. Let's see here. Everything you know about. Okay. The World Series final starts Wednesday. Okay. So that feels like it's 2 out of 3, which is what it should be. And remember you guys remember how college baseball evolved and TV got involved with that. So back in the day, I remember Sean McDonough telling us when it was a double elimination all the way through, either we'll play a second game tonight or maybe the next day, whenever it would be. All right. Based on when that game would be. Then he was doing it for ESPN, and then CBS said we want it, and at the championship we're not doing the if necessary game. When we get to the championship, it's too bad if you won or lost. On the way here, we're doing one game, and that's a champion, and that's kind of crappy, right? One team's undefeated, one team had a loss. You should have to beat them twice. And now, I don't know when they started the 2 out of 3 series, but that's what it should be, because that's what baseball is. Now, who's got pitching at that point in time? Good luck trying to figure that out. But it does become a best 2 out of 3, because that's what baseball should be. It's not a one-off, right? We've talked about this over the last few weeks. Baseball is so random compared to the other sports, right? It's not turnovers that change anything. It could be errors. It's not turnovers. It's not 3-pointers getting hot. It's not a goalie getting hot. It can be randomness, right? Like Dutton against LA. Dutton the other night gave up 3 base hits. 1 ball was hit hard. 2 were off the fists. They didn't, they didn't hit the ball hard enough. No. And then you see the liners. Pearson caught one. If it looked like it was going to fall in. A couple of times on Sunday, A&M hit liners. And I'm like, that's right to Broussard. He's going to catch it. Now, one he made for an interesting route. It made it a little bit exciting. A little bit of an adventure, but that ball's hit right at him. He's going to catch it. So sometimes you can do everything right and get screwed. And sometimes, sometimes you see a hanging breaking ball popped up, right? You get a hanging slider, and a lot of times that goes 400 feet. And sometimes you follow it off, or you're out in front, or, you just miss it. It goes to the wall. I think baseball is much more random than the other sports. Although I guess you got 7 of the top 8 seeds. Who is not in there? Let's see here. I don't know if we're going to be able to figure that out. I've seen it on the games. Super regionals. Let's see here. Super. All right, so Tennessee, Kentucky, A&M. Well, who didn't make it? Now I got to figure that out. East Carolina was low. Florida State made it. Florida made it. Clemson made it. So let's go quickly. We've been doing this long enough. Let's see here. NCAA baseball bracket 2024. All right. See who got upset here. Because I thought it was 1 through 8 all made it. Or 7 out of the 8 made it. All right. So Tennessee, Kentucky, A&M, Carolina, Arkansas lost. There's 1 Arkansas. Clemson won, Georgia won, and Florida State won. Oklahoma lost. That's 2. NC State won. I think Oklahoma State lost, right? Where's Oklahoma State? Florida won that. Florida won that one. So that's 3. Did Virginia win? Let's see. Virginia won. Arizona lost in 2. I think UC Santa Barbara lost 2. Oregon won that one. So teams lost at the end. Oregon State, they won, and East Carolina lost to Evansville. So 7 of the top 8 made it. Arkansas, the lone one who didn't. And then in the bottom 8, Oklahoma lost, Oklahoma State lost, Arizona lost, UC Santa Barbara lost, and East Carolina lost. So only half of the bottom seeds made it. Interestingly enough, let me see what the betting odds are, because at the beginning of this, for some reason, A&M was the betting favorite when it started. All right. College World Series, Tennessee is the slight favorite now, and I'm not sure A&M was much more of a slight favorite. But A&M's right there. So basically, right now it's Tennessee plus 300, A&M plus 310. Compare that to Evansville, which is a plus 30,000. All right. Florida State plus 550, Carolina plus 650, Kentucky plus 800. Wow, Virginia plus 800. And then, it goes from there. But basically, Tennessee and A&M are your co-favorites. I'm wondering why it changed a little bit over the weekend. I don't know what that's based on. Yeah, interesting. Again, not that much of a difference, plus 300, plus 310. But it was more the other way, like plus 250, plus 300, something like that when the tournament started. And then it's different. All right. All right. So again, my UPS package is going to come when I do the Orange Theory class, hashtag humble brag. As far as my situation, still waiting to hear. We're going to follow up here in about an hour. So we may have, hopefully we'll have some news one way or the other. All right. So I have a couple of options, one in town, one out of town. We'll see if the out of town thing comes through. And then if not, we got the in town thing. So we shall see. Also trying to figure out that has the basis of me going home. So I will say the one benefit of not going as fast as it could have is that I'll be able to go home. Kind of tough to take a new job and say I need a vacation. But I'll probably be able to go home before I start at the new job if that works out. So we shall see. Thanks for tuning in. We went a little bit of time today, about an hour. I still have all my liquids to drink. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. I just put the logo on the show on YouTube because that's not growing. Let me see see if we got anything on this today. We'll have to do some more there. So it's about 12:48. We haven't gotten too many new subscribers as of late, but we'll start doing the quarterbacks and start ranking players and preseason stuff. And maybe now is a good time before everyone goes on vacation to get those writers in, kind of a post-spring practice status where we are. Who's the starting quarterback? Who's going to be, taking this new number one snaps, at least in the fall? Where do we stand? Like it's South Alabama. One would think it's Gio Lopez, but is it? So we shall see. Everyone have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Schultz cast. Please subscribe. I think everything's updated on Apple and Spotify, so you can always find the audio portion there. Have a great day, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow.